Hello and welcome to part 6 of creating outdoor scene with Blender 2.8. So in this part we are going to create some flowers on some parts of the bridge and create our first grass in the scene. So yeah, let's move on. Great, so this is where we ended last time, which is part 5, and we are going to use the Ivy generator to create some flowers and plants on the bridge. Search for Ivy gen and it will show up. Then you enable it. Firstly, we are going to make some certain changes to it. Anyway, so I'm making some changes to the settings. So the trick is you just place your cursor to where you want the ivy to generate or grow from. Alright, so after making the changes you just hit add new ivy, and there you go, you have a new ivy. Very simple. Let's add another one here with the same settings. Okay, so let's create another one here, and we will use the same settings. Alright, you still see the settings I'm using, so you can just use them. We are creating it here, so you place the cursor there, then you hit add new ivy. Alright, so I'm reducing the length of it. Add new ivy. Blender is going to freeze a lot in this part because this is when we start adding grass to the scene and things start to get complicated, really complicated. So I hope it doesn't get too complicated for you guys, but Blender is going to freeze a lot. So I hope we survive throughout all this trouble. Alright, so this one is done, and it's looking good. So was done easier than I thought. Alright, so these are the leaves. So the planes you see are actually the leaves, but I do not like the shape of it, so we are going to use our own leaves and a flower from the assets I gave you guys. If you don't have, the link is in the description. We are going to use those two to place them on the ivy or on the parts where the leaves are. So I hope I'm making sense, but you guys will get to me very soon. So again, Blender is going to freeze a lot, and this is the part I really regretted making this tutorial, because it was becoming boring for me. It was really becoming boring, but I just paused. I took a day break and I came back to it because the freezing was too much. All right. Alright, so I'm trying to show you guys the models which we are going to append to the scene from the assets. So we are going to append this leaf here and the flower. So the flower is named flower and the leaf is named leaf, I'm very sure. Wanted to make sure I have everything done alright before I add the leaves. So we are going to hide certain stuffs. The viewport wasn't lagging, but it kept freezing. Alright, so let's change the display type. So if yours is not freezing, you can choose not to change it, but I'm going to change mine to avoid the freezing. Alright, so I thought autosave was causing that, so let me check and see. And it was autosave. So good. Now I think we won't be having that freezing anymore until we start adding the grass. Let's browse through the assets blend file, and under objects let's choose flower and leaf. So control flower, then control, then you select leaf. So let's move it to this place so that we can see what is going on, but later on we will hide it. Alright, so we are going to use particle system to populate it on the ivy. So here, then amount 100 for now, and then object, then choose flower. Alright, so let's change the display to textured. Alright, so let's scale it up. Object random, advance, rotation, so make sure you take show emitter, you untick it so that it won't show up in the rendering. let's name this flower and create a new one for the leaf. So again, untick show emitter in the render settings so that it doesn't show in the renders. The planes doesn't show in the renders. So we are using the same settings from the flower, but we are going to make it a new settings and name it leaf. It seems it's placed at the same location, so first let's change the amount of the flower to 100 and change the seed so that it will be on a different location. Alright, so you can play with the seed to get interesting results. So this is what we are getting so far. Alright, so 600 for the flower and 80 for the 600 for the leaves and 50 for the flowers. Alright, so let's take a preview. So we are going to add the back material to this guy, the back material from the trees, so that it doesn't look white in the render preview. Alright, so now you can turn them off, the flower and the leaf. So let's preview again. So make sure you remove show emit in the viewport display on the particle system. Good. So now we can see the ivy, we can see the flowers and the leaf clearly. So this is what we are getting. Not bad. So let's use the same particle system for these planes here. First we will use the flower and we will add another one for the leaf. All right. Take this one and this one. So let's do the same thing for the other one. I change the display to textured, then add the particle system. Alright, and one for the leaf. So on tick again. Alright, so let's do the same for this guy too. Alright, so this is what we are getting. Let's add materials to them using the back. Alright, so this is what we are getting and we are looking good. It wasn't difficult to achieve this and it's looking good. Okay, so let's bring the guys back and continue. Remove. Alright, so let's preview and see. Alright, so things are looking good. Not bad, not bad. So for now we are going to leave the sky like this, but during the final stage we will work on the sky. So I was saving and Blender was freezing. Alright, so let's create material for this guy. So it's going to be very simple. A noise texture. So we'll be using this as the bump for the river. Alright, so that's what we are getting from the bump. Alright, so we are trying to crop certain parts of the camera, and you have to select the camera. Alright, so I needed to turn this one on. Okay, so you take render region and then you select the camera for you to get this option here. Let's try and preview this side. So you can see now it's rendering fast because the trees are turned off. Alright, so we are working on the bump. Alright, so I took a little break. We are back. So the viewport was freezing a lot, so I changed everything. To bounce, and when I say everything, I mean the trees and the paths of the trees. So my viewport is not lagging that much anymore. Alright. Okay, so I duplicated this one without duplicating it with the leaf, so I had to delete it and I had to delete it and duplicate it again. I'm going to select this guy, then I will select hierarchy. then duplicate. Alright, so the leaves were hidden, so it wasn't selected. Alright, so now I have the leaf selected now. So then I duplicate now. Alright, so let's continue. Alright, so we are creating a new vertex group, and we are coming to create our first grass. Alright, so we will be painting the vertex group here, the parts we want to grow the grass. So you can see when painting, Blender started freezing, so I decided to use a different trick or approach to do this. So this is the results we are having from the paint we did, and this is our first vertex group. You can decrease the way to remove certain parts of the vertex group. Alright, so this is the first vertex group we have created, so let me rename it middle. So we are going to break the landscape into 3 parts: close up, middle, and distance, or far away. So this one is going to be the close up. So I wanted to use the image texture as a guide to draw the weight paint. Which is the image we painted for the road. Blender just crashed. Alright, so I noticed the weight paint is going to cause a lot of problems, so I decided to use a different approach to achieve the grass on the ground. So you can see I'm using Blender 2.81. Alright, we are back, and you see we have no vertex group now because we didn't save during that part. So this one will be the mellow for the weight paint. Alright, so we have 3 groups now. So firstly we are going to work on the close-up. Blender just crashed. Alright, so we are using a new approach for this, and we are going to use an image texture to serve as the weight paint. So we are going to use 3K textures and the color will be white. So let's name this one close up and turn off alpha 32-bit. Okay, so the weight paint was taking too long for us to do, so let's use this one. So another new image, and this one will be the middle. Alright, so the next one will be far. So it's already having the settings, so we just have to change the name. Alright, so we have 3 images now. Alright, so we are going to paint black on the white image on the locations we want the grass to appear, and we are going to do so in the texture paint workspace. Alright, so select one of the images then to alright, so select one of the images then to let me see whether I have photo save ones. Alright, so I have to turn that off to avoid any freezing. So texture paint workspace, so select one of the images. So we are going to paint, this one is for the roads, so select one of the images. This one is for the road, so we are going to use the grease pencil to draw the border for the grass. It wasn't working. Alright, so we need to turn it on. So it was actually working, but we couldn't see it because it was off. Alright, so let's remove some parts. We have the close-up image selected now, so we are going to paint on that image, and we are going to paint black. All right. So for this tutorial, the grease pencil has been very helpful for us in getting things right at the place they need to be. Blender is having a lot of options to make our life very easy. I'm using the reference to paint where the grass are supposed to be. So I'm trying to identify the parts which are not visible in the camera, so that I won't waste memory by placing grass at certain places which won't be rendered. So we are using I'm painting inside the road because we'll be using the grass to define exactly where the road is. So the grass is actually going to help us identify where the road is, or where cars are supposed to pass, or even Alright, so we are going to add this part to the close-up layer for the grass. So we are painting outside the camera to see where the grass won't be shown in the camera. So you can see if we don't clean this place, we will just be placing grass at certain parts which won't be rendered. So by just painting outside the camera, you'll be able to notice those portions that won't be rendered when you add the grass. So we are going to add grass under the bridge too. So it's also going to help blend the brick and the ground texture together. Alright, so let's save before we lose. So let's paint the middle one. Alright, so we are going to paint only the side which is visible to the camera. So we are using the grease pencil to guide us in drawing the middle layer. Alright, so this will be the road, where the road will be. So by doing this, it's going to help us know where we should and shouldn't paint. The grease pencil have been useful in this tutorial, very useful. Alright, so now I have two colors selected for drawing. So when I try to draw, I'll get a black color, but when I press Ctrl then draw, I'll get a white color. So it's going to switch to the secondary color whenever I press Ctrl. So I don't need to be choosing white and black anymore. So I was trying to just get a road over here, but it was a little confusing. Because there's already a road at the bridge side, so I just thought of blocking it anyway. So save the image, method. Alright, so we are drawing the layer for the far image. So make sure you have the file image selected before you start drawing. Alright, so we're almost done with the file layer. Let's save. So this is the close-up, this is the middle, close-up, looking good. So because we use the grease pencil to draw this road, now we're able to detect some mistakes we did earlier on. Alright, so save. Let's see whether everything is set on the middle layer. Alright, so this is the file layer. Okay, so we are back to the layout. So I'm turning every fake user on the images so that I don't lose them even if I delete the image. Alright, so this is the first particle system for the grass, and this one is going to be the close-up. I'm out of space. Alright, so I'm saving it to my other drive. Alright, so we are going to use the texture we painted at this side. So we add a new texture, then we are going to assign it to the to the density. So first load the texture, then under influence you take density. So the opposite of what we want was happening. I was expecting the grass to be at the black side we painted, but it was appearing on the white side. So let's see whether we can find a way to invert it. Don't do this because I regretted doing this, or you mess up everything, so don't do this. So we are still getting the same results. So I thought of using Photoshop to fix it, but I still wanted to fix this inside Blender. So let's keep looking, because I was very sure we will be able to fix this inside Blender, and I didn't want to use Photoshop. So after I'm going to try and fix it, then when I'm done I would start recording again. Alright, so I'm able to find a way to fix it inside Blender. So first go to the image editor. This is the close-up image. So load yours if yours is not loading. So go to image. That was quick. So now everything is working fine. So we have to do the same for the other images or the textures we painted. So image editor, select, then under image invert RGB, then save. So invert colors here. So under images, then invert colors. Alright, so we have done we have inverted all the colors for the images. So we are through with that. So yeah, we're able to use Blender to do it without using Photoshop. Alright, so we are going to use one of the grass. So we will be using this one, Gen 6 and Gen 7. The reason we are using that is I have already tried it and I was having a very nice result. So this is the result I had using just this Gene 6 and Gene 7. So that's what we are going to use for now. So you can see the result wasn't bad. Alright, so back to the main project. So I append it from the object folder. Alright, so from the object folder, Gene 6 and Gene 7. So all these assets are having materials assigned to them, so you don't have to worry about that. These are the guys we are going to use. So firstly, turn off the viewport, the subdivision viewport display to 0, so that you don't end up slowing down your viewport. Turn the viewport level to 0, but maintain the render value as 1. So we are going to use object and then select the Gene 6. Gene 6. Alright. So good, we have our grass on the ground, and let's try and give it a little randomness. So let's rotate these guys because it's going to take effect on what's on the ground. Alright. Alright, so let's make it big so that we see what's going on, because I'm still having problem with the rotation. Alright, so let's find the right angle, the right axis. So it seemed it was X, so I had to rotate it on the X axis. So now they are all facing upwards. Alright, so let's scale down. Let's scale down. So select the grass 6 and 7, then let's rotate. So this time on the y-axis. So let's scale down. Alright, so let's add a little random to the rotations, the rotation of the grass. But we don't want to add too much to it. Let's reduce the scaling. And I just noticed children doesn't work if you use this just to display the grass. Children wasn't working. So we just have to increase the number here, and this is when things start to freeze again. So I've Alright, so we are using 3 million grass now. So I was planning not to use more than 8 million for the grass. So you can see just the close-up, we are using 3 million. So things will start freezing up very soon. Alright, so normally when we are creating grass, we add some displacement modifier on the ground so that the grass will look a little bit displaced. But since we don't want to use we don't want the ground to be high res, we are going to use a cloud texture to create that effect without using any displacement modifier or any subdivisions. So that's the reason why we are using a cloud texture now. Alright, so we will use it to control the length of the grasses. Alright, so under influence you take length, which is hair length, and it's going to affect the length of the grasses. So now you can see the effect is taking. So work with the scaling to get it right. So and I just noticed you have to take and untick for it to refresh. So if yours is not refreshing, when you change the settings, just take and untick and you will get the value, so you get what you are supposed to get from the settings. Alright, so let's go for smaller values. And the reason I'm doing this is it really gives a very nice shadows on the grass. The parts which are not long enough, they end up getting shadows from the parts which are long. So it really gives a very nice effect to the grass. Alright, so this is what we are getting now. So the value is 0.005, 0.006. so let's refresh. After doing that, you can use the value here to control the length, to balance it. So you can use this too, and it's very helpful in some cases, because I didn't need to change the black and white value, so I just needed to change the value here, and it just made an interesting changes to it. So this is the results we are getting now. Alright, so now we have two textures, one for the density and one for the length. Alright. Alright, so we are using 4 million as the amount for the grass, and let's add a little randomness to the scaling. If I was using an amount of 1 million, things would have been faster, but the effect of the length is more visible when you have high amount of grass, so I had to pay that price. I noticed that the grass was a little tall, so I decided to move it downwards in the edit mode. So you can see now the origin point is now moving upwards close to the tip of the Alright, so let's see the results we have now. Okay, so this is what we are having. Alright, so we have added a new grass, and we will be using this one for the Jane 7, which is the flower. So we will just use the settings for the close-up on this one. So let's save. I'm trying to save. So it's taking very long because we have grass added to the scene, and of course the size of the blender file is going to increase. So my blender file for the scene is about 1.2 gig, which is very large. So I can reduce the size by turning on the compress option when saving, and I will get something like half of the size. So we are back from saving, and it's still freezing. So we are using 4 million now, and I think that's the cause of the freezing. Alright, so let's use a lower amount now. Okay. Alright, so we are using 40,000, and let's change the instance to Gen 7. Alright. Alright, so you can change the hair length here too, and alright, so I've made it a little bigger now so that it stands out in the grass, because I wanted to make it a little visible. Alright. Alright, so this is what we are having now. Let's take a very quick render and I will show you the results in the next part. So this is the end of part 6 and we are going to continue in part 7. So we have 2 more parts to finish, which is part 7 and part 8. But you don't need to worry about that because it's already uploaded, and I have to worry about that because I have to make it and upload it. So hopefully we are going to meet in part 7 and I will show you the result I had. Subscribe if you haven't, and meet you in the next part.